My in-laws banned me from Christmas. I took my kids to Lapland and broke the internet. My mother-in-law Constance operates under the conviction that family is a hierarchy she sits at the top of, and that the function of everyone beneath her is to confirm this arrangement through consistent deference. I had understood this about her within the first year of my marriage to her son Joel, and had spent the subsequent 7 years managing it with the particular diplomacy of someone who has decided that a degree of strategic patience is the price of an otherwise good life. The exclusion arrived via group chat, which is the modern delivery mechanism for things people lack the courage to say directly. Constance had decided, following a disagreement at the previous year's gathering, that I will summarize as me declining to agree that something false was true, that the Christmas celebration would be better served by my absence. Joel's siblings, who orbit Constance with the anxious energy of people who have learned that friction with her is more costly than complicity with her, supported the decision with the silence that functions as agreement in family group chats. Joel was furious. Joel wanted to issue an ultimatum. I told him not to. I told him this, not from passivity but from strategy. An ultimatum issued to Constance would produce either a retraction delivered with enough residual resentment to poison every subsequent gathering for years, or an entrenchment that escalated the conflict beyond the point of easy return. Neither outcome served our actual interests, which were a peaceful life and 2 children who deserved a Christmas that nobody was managing a crisis through. Instead, I sat with Joel at our kitchen table on a Tuesday evening and opened a browser and looked at availability. I had seen something about Swedish Lapland the previous winter, a travel piece I had read and filed in the category of things that belong to other people's lives. Dog sledding. Reindeer. The northern lights across the sky, so dark and so vast, it apparently rearranges something in the people who witness it. A chance, if the conditions aligned, of seeing the aurora in a way that photographs cannot fully prepare you for. Our children were 7 and 9. Old enough to remember, young enough to still believe in the version of Christmas that exists before the world makes it complicated. I booked it that evening. 4 nights, flights included, a cabin with a wood-burning stove and a guide for the outdoor activities, and a Christmas Eve arrangement with a local family that the tour operator described as traditional in ways that turned out to be genuinely, completely true. I did not announce it on social media before we left. I did not inform Constance. I simply organized our family's Christmas with the same competence I had spent 7 years applying to gatherings that had not always acknowledged my contribution. We arrived in Swedish Lapland on the 23rd of December to snow of a depth I had not encountered before, and cold that was absolute and beautiful, and that the children ran into immediately with the fearlessness of people who have not yet developed a complicated relationship with discomfort. On Christmas Eve, in a sky that delivered exactly what the travel piece had promised, we watched the northern lights move across the darkness above the snow-covered tree line in colors that had no adequate name. My daughter stood with her head tilted back and did not speak for a long time. My son, who is 9 and considers sustained silence a form of failure, was also silent. Joel held my hand with the grip of someone who is watching something that requires both hands but has found a reason to use only one. I took one photograph, a wide shot, all 4 of us from behind, the sky doing what it was doing above us. I posted it on the 26th after we had come home and unpacked, and the children were in bed, having told me 3 separate times each that it was the best Christmas of their lives. The photograph accumulated a response I had not anticipated and do not entirely know what to do with. It was shared by people I had never met and reached, through pathways I cannot reconstruct, a significant number of strangers who left comments I read with the slight unreality of someone watching something that was theirs become briefly public. Constance called Joel in the first week of January. Her tone was described to me afterward as several things in succession. She did not address the exclusion directly. She asked about the trip and whether the children had been cold and whether we had eaten properly. Joel said the children had been extraordinary and the food had been excellent and that his wife had organized everything perfectly. There was a pause. Constance said it looked beautiful in the photograph. Joel said it had been. She has not raised the exclusion since. The January family gathering which we attended proceeded with a quality of careful warmth that suggested a recalibration had occurred that nobody was going to name directly. I do not require it to be named directly. I was there in Lapland on Christmas Eve when the sky did what it did, and my daughter stood silent beneath it, and my son forgot to speak, and Joel used one hand instead of 2. Constance can have the January gathering. We have the photograph.